Hello and welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And today we're having another live tasting. It's Craigellachie, and I'm sitting here with Pierre Kruff, the German brand ambassador for Craigellachie, but you are kind of Scottish?
Well, you might pick up on the accent. It might happen. I very often get that. No, I'm actually German, to be honest, but I lived for almost 15 years in Scotland. So I have a Scottish wife, Scottish kids, living in Germany now, back in Germany.
Okay.
But yeah, I learned quite a lot in Scotland.
Okay, so you joined the whiskey industry more about the tourism side, really?
That's correct, yeah. It was quite funny. I have been in event management,
Okay.
and I added tourism. So I brought German visitors to Scotland, showed Scotland, and obviously whiskey is part of it. And I can't deny
Is it just whiskey or is there anything else?
Oh no, there's history.
History.
Especially for the German customers, visitors, is big style.
Okay.
Castles, obviously, and we can't hide it. Our Scottish history, lots of wars, and after all, we still searching for freedom.
Okay, is it just wars against the English or is there any other wars?
Well, let's not start with politics. I'm really
I
biased.
can't remember anything like about, but I mean the big thing like William Wallace and yeah, Braveheart.
Braveheart, okay.
yeah. The thing is probably all the Scottish people are like, oh no, not that story again.
Exactly. Let's cut it here.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about Craigellachie, and if you've been ever to the Speyside, then you've probably passed Craigellachie. We can show it to you on map. It's here, Speyside. But when you go to the town of Craigellachie, and it's pretty much on the way to the Speyside. If you're not driving through the Grampian Mountains, there's one like mountain road, and the other road is always you have to just go through Craigellachie. And when you look to the left, and like, oh yeah, that's a big distillery, and yeah. So the distillery is. Yeah, quite nice. Red doors, pretty traditional. And on the right, you can already see the still house. On the back, you can see a kind of a kiln, which is not in use anymore.
Unfortunately, not.
Yeah.
No.
And you've been there more recently. I think this is like 3/4 of a year. This is the beginning of the year, I think. So is the scaffolding still there?
It is not, no. The scaffolding is probably the only thing which is not there. Everything else is exactly the same, yes?
Yeah. And the rain.
And the rain, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So it's in the heart of the Speyside. It's Craigellachie town, and that's in Banffshire. The distillery is pretty old, 1891, and founded by Alexander Edward and Peter Mackey. And I think these were like really unique characters.
Very unique. Basically like yin and yang. So you can't say any more different than both of them.
Yeah, I think that I can remember from the distillery video was one guy was really pleasant. He was doing like production and stuff. And the other guy was really like, oh yeah, sales guy, and he really got into fights with the local government and with the newspaper and
Some character, yes.
and so yeah, that was the young side. But the thing is, Craigellachie is not like a big old single malt brand. They used to be actually a workhorse for a blend brand, and that's the White Horse brand. So yeah, so they produced a lot for the blend industry, but I think there were a lot of independent bottlings as well.
Yes, Craigellachie is quite famous for independent bottlers,
Yeah.
or bottlings. After all, we now have a decent core range, and I think this is definitely what we need to try today.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, all of the history is pretty boring. Let's get into the whiskey.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
That's right, exactly. So we have the 13 years old as our flagship, basically. Our flagship is sitting at 46% alcohol, and is non-chill filtered and not coloured. By all means, we do have 4 different casks for maturation. First fill bourbon, first fill sherry, refill and rechar. And after all, this is getting basically married together. And after this marriage, we do have also a first fill sherry and first fill bourbon finish. And that makes the whiskey quite interesting. We have a quite complex cask management here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see with kind of all the different kind of casks. Mm-hmm. And what is also interesting, a little bit of foreshadowing, is you have it here on the back. It's warm tubs, and so the spiciness you get from inside this whiskey is pretty much from the warm tubs as well.
Yeah, I think we will go through it, warm tub topic later on, but yeah, we do have an old-fashioned whiskey, and this is what Craigellachie definitely wanted and wants. And after all, we follow this line with Stephanie McLeod, who is keeping up with this old tradition and showing a very old-fashioned, old-style whiskey.
Yeah.
So, what you think about the nose? I think it is quite distinctive, quite straight on.
As I already had it like in the German version, it's a lot different from what I had in the initial first one, because in the initial first one I had a lot of spiciness. I do have that here, but I kind of got used to the distillery character of that spiciness and that phenolic, that sulfury touch to it, and now I do really get a lot of that bourbon character.
Yes,
so it is sweetness with bourbon character, vanilla, caramel, but also a lot of a bloomy character.
Yeah,
Flowers.
Flowers, yeah. As the floral notes, which I would say is probably the only part from Speyside which is typical with Craigellachie. Everything else I would say is very not Speyside-like. Usually we do have floral round notes, very easy going, but I think with Craigellachie we can prove everything of that is not happening in Craigellachie.
Here we do have a question, a flurb incognito. Do you pass Craigellachie when hiking the Speyside way? Ooh, I've not hiked the Speyside way yet. Well,
there are two different ways. If you mean the Distillery Speyside way, which is it's definitely signposted, you definitely pass it. You can't miss it. But we do have also different walks in Speyside. It's very famous for the walks and the hill walks, and not always you pass Craigellachie, but make sure you will, because it's worthwhile.
Definitely. I like it. It's it's a nice combination of spiciness and fruitiness.
The fruit, I was waiting for you saying that. The fruit, I think, is very citrusy. I believe it's a citrusy note, is kind of pineapple, where you can feel and sense the kind of, not just sweetness of pineapple, it's also the sour part of it, which to me is a very nice balance, sweet and sour, basically.
Yeah.
But what also comes through is some sort, and I'm very careful how I word it, is some sort of, not smokiness, but it's like something like a bonfire. You have some sweet notes, but also some, kind of smoky notes. And I think, try to imagine you shoot a pineapple with a gunshot, and you have the powder going through the pineapple, and this is what you have within your glass. Yeah,
it's really a bit of a I think I tried the new make as well. It's the yin and yang again, and that's what the spirit about Craigellachie is behind that. You have the pineapple and the sulfur, which is really two opposites on each side, and they are mixed in one glass.
I also have some more sweeter notes. It's not citrusy, it's maybe some sort of orange. When you have a sweet orange on top, you can actually smell that. But yeah, citrusy through and through. For me, always pineapple, and that stands for Craigellachie.
Yeah, nice. So, Sláinte.
Sláinte. I was just about to say, this is I think the orange mandarin notes come through. It's the more sweetiness here, but also in the very end, you have some sort of, not smoky. Smoky is not the right word, but you have some sort of bonfire. This is coming through for me. It's lying on the tongue. It is a very complex whiskey, I have to say. It's not the very easygoing one, but I think that is what makes it Craigellachie. It's complex. I always say in my tastings, it's not round. It's like really with edges, and it comes really masculine and very straightforward, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, the taste, you do have a nice sweetness, you do have a nice fruitiness, which is really now with juicy oranges. Before that, I had oily and juicy. This is more juicy now. You do have a bit of oily orange as well, but also the phenolic note, edges, and all that kind of stuff. I just had earlier this week, I did have triple distilled Irish. That was no edges, everything filed off, everything nice and round, easy, smooth. And this is the complete opposite. Edgy all the way. You have tons and tons of nuances with all the different kind of casks, recharred, bourbon, refill, sherry. Lot of different styles of intensity coming through. All that wants to be explored. No?
Yeah, definitely. That suits it very well.
What in Celtic does Craigellachie mean? I think we had that already with, I think it was Rocky Hill or something like, well.
I have to say, and I have to correct a tiny bit, which makes me very, very Scottish-like. It's not Celtic; it's actually Gaelic.
Gaelic, yeah, sure.
Very
Gaelic.
important. I understand.
The Celtics were more to the south. Yeah, it's Gaelic.
And, we Scots are very proud of being, Gaelic based.
Yeah, sure, Gaelic. Let's continue a little bit. We had a bit of history, and now we're diving in how actually Craigellachie is made. And we're starting off with two things that are most important for the whiskey making. And first is the malt. And here we see the malt mill. It's an old, is it Prometheus? Yeah, Prometheus malt mill. And it's very, 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 very old machine. And you just coarsely grind it down to a coarse grist. You don't want to mill it down too fine, otherwise it becomes a dough. And you just want to have like a cake, or not a cake, like cereals.
Like cereals, exactly.
Like cereals. Yeah. And the other thing that is very important is the water that comes in the mash tun. They have a very nice water source uphill. I've actually not walked there. Have you walked there?
I've been walking there, yes, but it slipped my mind. I don't remember the name of the water source, to be really honest.
I think it was like Blue Hill or something. Something with blue.
Something blue.
Okay. But it's what's most important is it's a fresh water source, low on minerals. That is very important for making beer and whiskey, and because otherwise you get really bitter substances in there. And they have a modern mash tun from 2001. It's stainless steel, very efficient, very energy efficient, 48,000 liters. And when you look into it, the mash tun is really there to get the water and the coarse grist mixing, and then you heat it up, and the enzymes within the malt. The malt is really a corn or a grain that is growing a little bit, and what the plant does is it takes the starch inside its seed, and it actually splits it up into sugars, and then it wants to rearrange it into celluloses. But that's the point where you stop it because we do want the sugar, and the sugar is the best for the fermenting, which is the next step. They have these big fermenters, 8 of them from Siberian larch, very traditional in wood in Siberian larch. And they ferment for 56 hours, which is a decent amount. And during this fermentation, you actually change the sugar into alcohol and CO2, which you can see then here with these bubblings going up and this rising. This is a normal convection inside the beer, the wash. And there you actually do create the flavors. So you do want to have a nice amount of fermentation, and also after 40 hours you do have the alcoholic fermentation to the end, and then you wait a little bit more to get these tropical fruits going on. So it's really important. They really can't mess with the timings. If you always, if you want to have output, you just dial down the timings a bit, but when you do that you lose some of the flavors, so you really can't do that. So, and next step will be distillation, but let's try another whiskey before that.
I was just about to say, let's go on number 13 again. So not number 13, but 13 years of age. Armagnac finish, which means that we have a decent, I would say a little brother of cognac as a finish. It's Armagnac from France. We do have more bourbon casks parts here. Almost forgot myself. And after all, the Armagnac finish for 12 months, which is quite some time for a finish. But I think you will definitely have it in your nose straight away.
Armagnac is, as you said, from France, and it's wine distillate.
Yes, kind of. So as I said, it's like the cognac brother, the little brother of cognac. And after all, you definitely.
But it's a proper spirit, not one of these fortified sweet things.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spirit.
Yeah. So the nose, as I said, sweet, but also some sort of perfume-like. I would almost say it's very different from the flagship 13 years old Craigellachie. By all means. We do have a complete different note on the nose. By all means, I have still my pineapple, which I always get pineapple. I have this fruity, but also some sort of very light smoke again. And smoke is very careful to say. But it's a very nice touch of rechar bourbon casks, which you can smell with the sweetness. And again, the Armagnac finish is, to me, phenomenal. What do you think?
I think Joris also has the whiskey here in her glass. So share your thoughts on what you have what you smell. For me, the 13 has a totally different smell. Whereas here you had very spicy. Also, now with the second tasting, it's more bourbon cask, vanilla caramel in there, and now I do have a lot more round, bit more creamy. I don't want to say it because it sounds mean, but it smells like a good soap.
A good soap, yeah. That's probably exactly what I meant with like more perfume-like.
Yeah.
It's very careful to say, but it is a very nice touch of different sweetnesses, I think. But yeah, I think we should just try it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's totally different, and I think it comes a lot from the Armagnac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
I think what you get is the sweetness straight away. That's what my opinion, at least. But I think what you also get is some sort of cinnamon. It's like the spiciness is turning a bit more kind of sweet, but also I almost would say pepper, but it's not really pepper. So I would maybe go more to like this sort of cinnamon.
Here comes the spiciness again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you have it in your nose, you have it like creamy, you have the perfume or soapiness, and then you have it in your mouth, you get the spiciness. You do have a little bit of that creamy, the flavor is in there, but all this kind of sulfury touch to it, all the fruitiness that divert your attention a lot away from that. So, and now the finish is what you said with that spiciness. It has cinnamon, it has nutmeg, all that kind of stuff. It feels a little bit Christmassy.
It is indeed. I think that's exactly.
You can use it as a Christmas malt. Yeah.
Yeah, a Christmas malt, just about right in time. However, we also have just 46% alcohol. Why do I say just? I think the alcohol comes a bit more through. So I think it's punchy. But yeah, it's 46, sits at 46. Non-chill filtered again, and definitely no colouring. So as you can see, slightly different colour. But obviously the finish does its work here.
That's nice that they are uncolored, so we can talk about the color. The color is pretty nice. I mean, 13 years, yeah, a good decent amount of years, but it's a nice golden color.
Absolutely.
But for me, it's still this little bit of a phenolic touch to it, that spiciness. It just feels like an old school rough distillate.
That sounds very much like Craigellachie.
Yeah, that is Craigellachie.
Old style and old fashioned. That's exactly what we want. And as I said in the beginning, Stephen McLeod, by the way, just won yesterday for the 7th time Master Blender of the Year. So congratulations, Stephanie. Well done. Very proud of that, to be part of this group running by Stephen McLeod's productions.
Yeah. Joris said, the smell is indeed different, but in my opinion, the regular 13 is a bit more spicy. Taste is again very funny, but softer than a 13, and the creaminess is apparently, and it gives a different mouthfeel. Okay, the spiciness in the nose, I can really go with that. The nose for the normal 13 is a lot more spicy than on the Armagnac. For me, the Armagnac this time was a bit more spicy. When you have it the first time, I think the 13 can be a bit more attacking.
Yeah.
But the second time, the bourbon just came out much more. So for me, it was a little bit less spicy, more easy.
That's right. I have actually the same. The sweetness comes a bit more through, so it's always worthwhile to have a second go on it.
Yeah, but it's very complex, and people are tons of different. So it's strange that now that we tried it again, it also is a new deal. It's not like totally different whiskey, but you feel something else as well.
Yeah, you definitely can give these single malts a bit more time. So even if it's sitting at 46% alcohol and is maybe not this typical kind of cast strength or whatsoever, you give it a bit time, and maybe also try a couple of drops water. You always feel a bit more in it.
Yeah, it probably turns totally different if you add a drop of water. And what I'd really like to know is I'd really need to get into Armagnac, like try Armagnac, because it would be nicer to connect it to something.
Yes,
because I can feel a little bit what the Armagnac probably tastes like, because there's something really present in there. But but I guess if you have that perfume taste or that soapy taste, pure, I don't think I will change from whiskey to that. Yeah. So good. That was the Armagnac. You can finish your glass, obviously, and I will just give you a little bit more about the heart of the distillery. It's the distillation, and that's the beautiful view that you see from the street. Maybe a bit low because my drone was a little bit higher than the street. A little bit like that, and that's the still house, and you can really see that from the street. So it's always worth a photo doing that there. And and these are the 4 stills, and they have 2 wash stills. They are on the far side of this picture, and in the front they are the 2 spirit stills. And there's a nice tale about the wash still, because these wash stills have been built around 1910, 1920, maybe the predecessors before that looked similar. But the innovation of watch glass to see when it bubbles over is is something that came later. So back in the days, they had ropes and little wooden balls, and they banged it against the wash still at the neck, and then they heard if it sounded hollow or if it sounded like it had bubbles in there. And so you really had to hear for that. But here at the distillery, they had a cat, and the cat came into the still house when they were firing it up because she liked it warm, and was sitting next to it. And as soon as it was bubbling over, the cat would leave. And the people were like, okay, this is a nice indicator. Let's take the cat for when we need to turn down the wash still, because the wash still you really want to fire fast because it really doesn't produce that much flavor. So you want to just have the process running as fast as it can. And when it bubbles over, that's a dangerous part. So you want to turn it down. So it was like, oh, the cat knows it and the cat has it in its fields. No, the cat just had a better nose, and everything was a little bit leaky. So when the bubbling was going up, the alcoholic vapors actually went outside the still and came down to the cat. So the cat didn't like that and left. So that's probably the idea how that went down. But who knows? The cat story is just really nice. Next up is then the spirit stills. This is where the flavor really comes into play, and we have a pretty huge spirit still with 23,000 liters, very, very pear-shaped, nearly horizontal line arm, and this again goes through the spirit stave where you can do all the cuts and all the measurements to really have the right flavors and produce it always the same way. So that's where you do the measurements, and then we come into the very special things. And the specialty about Craigellachie is the warm tubs. And I think you're the only distillery with square warm tubs.
I think so, yeah. Definitely not the only with warm tubs, but square warm tubs is
and
quite
you can taste. No, you can't taste. It's not really the squareness is not really dependent for the flavor, or at least I don't think so. Maybe, but warm tubs have a way of cooling down the liquid very fast, and that doesn't give the alcoholic vapors time to go through the walls and have catalytic reactions with the copper, and that actually makes this spirit a lot more spicy and a lot more sulfury, and that is really what you have the specialty about Craigellachie. What is also funny then is I actually heard a story at the distillery that there are a few casks of Craigellachie that really are tasting different because they don't have the sulfury touch to it, and that's the ones where you have the, I don't know, every 5 years or every 2 years, I don't know, the cleaning. So the first run after the cleaning is really, really different. So the guys from the warehouse, I think they said, do you have a cleaning cask again? Yeah, I had some cleaning, yeah. I was like, yeah, we can really taste that.
Maybe as one of the exceptional casks. We don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, if you then blend them together, that's then probably also the taste of Craigellachie. But the thing is, the warm tubs, they are really robust. You don't have to clean them very often. So they're very, very few casks, probably. Yeah. And the other thing about Craigellachie is they used to be in the blend industry. So unfortunately, no warehouses.
Unfortunately, same like no visitor center, which is a pity. But I think you have been there. I just saw that. So you have seen it's quite all over the place. It's not a typical way to go through. And I think there is a bit of health and safety situation there, which leaves us unfortunately with no visitor center.
Yeah, I think I was in there, and only for the takes I did in my distillery video, I was able to take the hat off and the high-vis jacket. So yeah, it was really a workhorse. But strangely enough, I would say kind of a beautiful workhorse.
Absolutely, I really love it.
It could be a nice distillery, but yeah, health and safety is probably not that great, especially in the mash tun. Mash tun room is like you're standing there like, damn, this is tight.
Yes, so you can imagine with having groups of 30 people, it might be a bit squeezed in. So we just want to make sure that our visitors will be safe. And right now, we can't change the building. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, there's always a bit of rumor that, Craigellachie's going to do a visit. But I think the rumors are pretty old.
Yeah, well, there's one time you can visit Craigellachie, that's the Speyside Whisky Festival. We open the doors to visitors, but be very fast booking your tickets because they're very quickly sold out.
Ah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. We now had two 13 years old, which is also 13 is not really common number for whiskeys, and now we have a 17-year-old.
Also not common, exactly. It's not very often seen. Yes, as I said, Stephanie McLeod is choosing her whiskies very wisely, and I think I actually know that Stephanie McLeod is waiting a little bit longer for our Craigellachie, so the sulfury notes and the typical Craigellachie style comes more through within this 1 year. So it is by kind of accident, but obviously we like to be different, and that's why we keep it going. So yeah.
I think they're all prime numbers, right?
Kinda, yes, kinda.
I think there's 11 years, there's 13, there's 17, and I think it's 23.
23, 31, 37. I'm not that great in math with prime numbers,
No,
but
they're all prime.
definitely awkward numbers. But we like it different. As I said, we are different and we are old-fashioned.
Yeah, maybe she has a bit of a fable for math as well. Huh?
Definitely for wine. I know this with the wine flavors. You do have an Armagnac now, but you definitely get some sherry and wine casks with Craigellachie as well.
Okay. Also, unchill filtered, no coloring, 46%.
Exactly. It's 46% non-chill filtered and no added color, which makes the 17 years old very, very rare again. Look by its color, you can already guess it's definitely more cherry.
Oh yeah.
Sherry, obviously. By all means, it is very similar to the 13 years old in its production and its cask management. It's first fill bourbon, first fill sherry, refill and rechar. But after the marrying together, we get a first fill bourbon and first fill sherry finish. But here, the portion of the sherry finish is a bit more, and you can see that in its color. So I think it sits very, very well. 17 years, first nose, and yeah, actually, I would like to get your first impression, because I think here's one note which is actually my favorite one with the 17 years old. But maybe you know already what I mean, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the 17 is it's definitely older. But I was expecting less impact, as in spiciness. I was expecting more of a, maturity, down to earth, earthy tones, and more oaky tones. And it does have a good amount of spiciness. And we already had nutmeg and what was it? Cinnamon and all that kind of. This has a kind of an oriental touch to it as well. So orientalness, as in a little bit of cloves and anise seed and fennel seed. So it has a bit of a oily, not zesty. What is it, like the fresh note? It's not menthol or methyl. It's more of a oily, herby, medicinal type of spiciness.
Yeah. I think you explained that quite well. It's exactly what I tried to point out. This whiskey, although it's obviously more sherry cask portions here, you definitely get the sweetness a bit more, almost like caramel. But what you also get, in my opinion, is definitely the sherry notes, like the slight bitter or dry notes of the sherry. But definitely the sweetness, which I really like in the nose. What you said, the freshness, I totally agree, and that's exactly where I wanted to go to. I think I have a little surprise here when we taste it, because that's exactly where it comes through. I don't want to say too much. Let's taste it.
Joris has actually less spiciness, which it's for me it's a different, more of the sulfur note. I can go with that, definitely more of that rough note that you have from the distillery character.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you want to add water first, or do you want to sip it?
To be honest, I tried without first, and
Okay.
then after that I
Okay.
put a bit water in it, because
Yeah.
then I do have, you know, the comparison, which I also think helps to point out that one particular taste. I think we will get.
Slange it?
Slange it. You do have the sweetness, which I think comes through straight away. However, as soon you have it in your mouth and you let it work there, you can feel that freshness, you can feel that some sort of spiciness, which becomes a bit more intense. And I would say this is the anisey, which you can definitely pick up, and licorice is like very much into it. So I think, I can see it in the chat. It's like for Christmas.
Yeah, Christmassy.
It's definitely some sort of Christmas cake, I would say. It's like
Yeah.
the sweetness, but also the spiciness.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has that, baking, but anise is really coming through, combined with a good amount of oak.
Yeah.
So you can feel, 17 years in there, definitely. And bit of fruitiness, but the fruitiness for me is just the nuances. You can feel them a little bit. If you focus on them, you can get them a little bit out more, but spiciness and that sulfury touch is just very present.
Yeah.
And I really love it that the distillery character is so dominant in a whiskey. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think I said this before, but the whole core range is definitely sitting with its typical Craigellachie character, which I really like.
And we have here little bit of a few drops of water. So just use normal, regular, unmineralized water, no sparkling, and just very, very little drops in there. Just to change the alcoholic concentration just a little bit and you'll get a lot of different flavors in there.
As I said before, it sits at 46% ABV. However, with this little bit of water, you definitely pick up some more decent notes of the anisety and definitely like the licorice. And
Oh yeah, now the oak getting lower and this mintiness, freshness I would call it.
yeah,
This is getting, it's getting much more fresh.
that
Yeah.
for me is the absolute great surprise with Craigellachie 17 years old, which, I have to say it again, is my absolute favorite for that reason. And obviously it sits so well, not rounded, edgy. It's very strong in its character and still very enjoyable as I think.
Edgy character. Definitely edgy character. So it's not a beginner's one. If you want a beginner's one, you have to go somewhere else. Ooh, but it really increased the sulfuriness and that phenolic note really.
Yeah, one reason why this is probably not the beginner's whiskey, but definitely, some whiskey for advanced whiskey drinkers.
If you're into the strange flavors and the opposites, and because you always it's always swinging a little bit of that sweetness, tropical sweetness, a little bit of you always have that pineapple. It always swings in mid with a little bit of a sweet note and strange. I think it's not everyone's favorite, but it's really a very interesting whiskey. I really wouldn't want to miss it.
Yeah, exactly. I can always recommend having with every single of our Craigellachie a drop of water. First try it without and then try it with, because you see a real difference and the sulfury notes come through and some different sweetnesses. Definitely worth a try.
Okay, so we came to the end of our whiskies. So if you do have any questions you want to ask me or Pierre, then actually do post them in the chat. And I can see one. Did they use the same casks except for the finish? Do you know that?
I think that was asked with our 13 years Armagnac, if I got that right. After all, no. It's different cask management. We do have refill bourbon. And after all, this is exactly the difference. We have more sweetness in the 13 years old based from the casks. And as we said, the Armagnac is doing its job in the finish.
So it's not. So it's really all of them are really different within the casks. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to do with the voting for the best one, or do you want to what do you call it, or is it like picking your favorite child?
Unfortunately, I would leave that with you because
Okay.
I do have my favorite. I think I said it already. I wouldn't be fair. So
Yeah.
bash on.
I think we had the questionnaire for all of you in the chat, but I think it was in German, and we're doing the questionnaire again in English. But I think it would have been okay with the German as well. But so, is it gonna be the same? Yes. Yes, this time it's the same. The 17 is just really, really, really great. So for me, it's 3, 1, and 2. Oh, we just closed the okay. So this time it's really different. We only have 6 people voting, but a little bit of short time, and 13 came out tops, then the cask finish, and then came the 17. So really a bit different. So people in the international markets are really like their flavors a little bit different. I missed the poll. 17 for me. Okay, so
Here we go.
okay, 33. What's the difference? So they like 15% for the 17 also as well. Yeah, 17 was just really great. And in the German one, we had a lot of people voting. I think it was like 30 or 40 people voting. And the 17 voted by, I think it was 50, 60, something around
63,
there.
I think it was. Yeah.
63, yeah. Nearly 2/3 people like the 17 best. It's just, yeah, that is really an exceptional one. That
It is
really,
indeed. Yeah.
really indeed very, very nice. So, yeah. I think we came to an end. I can just give a little bit of shameless self-promotion for the next live tasting. If you go to Whisky.com/live, you'll see all the live tasting. We only have 3 live tastings left. They will be on the second day of Christmas, because first day is kind of for parents and aunts and grandpas and stuff, and the second day is usually sitting at home, and then on the following day we do have the second day of Christmas is the beginners live tasting with my father Horst at Whisky.com on the 22nd of December 2024 at 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time. And then we have next day will be the advanced live tasting, also with my dad, and also at 8 p.m. And then there will be another day with just me and 7 rums. So you don't want to miss that. A live tasting with 7. But no, sorry, that's not English. That's only in German. Sorry. Okay. So do you have anything to add, or?
I think we covered pretty much everything. What I can say is Craigellachie is definitely a very special, unique taste, and as we said, maybe not for everyone's cup of tea, but I think it is worthwhile getting into it, because it is a very unique style, and it's really opening your taste buds for much more intense characters and flavors. whatsoever. If there is any question left, please also feel free to contact me, or obviously here in the chat. I'm sure we can answer all the questions then later on.
Oh yeah, yeah. And yeah, if you found this video interesting, then please feel free to share it with your friends. And thank you very much for watching. See you next time.